Hey everyone! So, this week we'll be looking at Chapter 4, which is about self directed learning. This chapter has a number of concepts related to self directed learning, and our presentation will be focusing on the myths related to the self directed learning. But before we get to that, it is important to understand what exactly self directed learning is. And to better understand that, we can also think of an example where we see ourselves taking up a project, maybe taking up a learning project where we seek learning, plan the learning, organize it, and also control it, and in the end, evaluate it. So, for example, it can also be the situation where we learned about infographics and we had to learn or seek more knowledge about it and look at various tools to perform a task of making this infograph. So we control the elements that we can put into the infograph and also evaluate based on discussions and feedback. Another example of understanding self-directed learning would be enrolling in a class or just watching a YouTube video to get more knowledge about a cooking recipe, making it, and so on. So, self-directed learning can be both short-term and long-term. Sometimes, in some cases, it can also be a lifelong process. But andragogy and self-directed learning were the two earliest and most robust conceptualization of nature and characteristics of adult learning. So while andragogy identified the assumptions of adult learning theories, self-directed learning is more about the process involved where adults engage in their own learning. So follow along our journey that we have created for you and take the role of an explorer, sail through the myths, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of them interesting. So one of the few that we found were really interesting were the concepts or the myths related to all or nothing concept. And that was interesting because every learner exhibits a varying degree of self-directedness. Also, another interesting one was that self-direction involves learning in isolation, which is not always true. You may elect to consult with peers, experts, or instructors during this journey of yours in self-directed learning. The last but not the least interesting myth related to this theory or concept is that it is an easy way out for instructors, which I guess was really interesting because this self-directed learning involves actually more or active participation of the instructor, so they can guide the learner along the way and help them realize their own goals or strategies, appropriate strategy or solution in a situation that they are facing. All in all, it is important for all of us to understand what self-directed learning is and the myths related to it and the entire concept, so we can focus on self-directed learning teaching and learning applications. So go ahead, set your sails and enjoy this journey of exploring all the different myths.